Yeah, so I'm Seb Thompson, I'm head of media for Manchester Airport. So there's other versions of me at our other airports, London, Stansted, East Midlands. So I oversee all the proactive, all the reactive PR and comms for the airport, whether that's airline launches, retail openings, corporate activity, general media relations, interviews, or crisis comms, which we've all had a lot of over the last 18 months.
So a busy, busy job.
Very busy at the moment, yeah. So passenger-wise, we've been obviously hardly any traffic whatsoever, but from a comms point of view, we've been busier than ever over the last year or so.
I can imagine, yeah. And how long have you been at the airport? Were you at the Manchester Evening News before? Have I got that right? Or
No, that's my boss. So comms director used to be at Manchester Evening News. So I've been at MAG for 8.5 years now in a variety of different roles within corporate affairs, some of those group comms roles, local airport roles, but I've been in travel PR for about 10, 15 years now, too many years I care to remember. So I was agency side before. So it's my first in-house role, but actually being at an airport, it's like being at an agency because we've got 70 odd airlines, all the retailers, the group stuff, the corporate stuff. There's always something different to kind of get your teeth stuck into.
I can imagine, yeah. And I suppose that agency background is great to bring to it as well, because you've got with all the different brands and the juggling so many plates. But going back to obviously the time that we still talk about, like last March 2020, I mean, obviously for you were probably watching what was going on around the world, I can imagine, a little bit before that. I know most of us, it kind of took us by surprise a little. I know it did me. How did you and your team react to when COVID hit the shores in the UK?
Yeah, so as you said, we were talking about COVID back in December 2019, January 2020. So obviously had direct flights to Beijing in China. So it was always the media speculations that was somebody going to fly in that's got a case of it. Is they not? So we got loads of calls back then, and 9 times out of 10 it was nothing. But then there was one which we thought this is going to be the pinnacle of COVID. After we dealt with this, there'll be nothing else. It was a gentleman who supposedly had skipped the border in Wuhan and managed to get one of the last flights out of China to the UK. Turned out to be absolutely nothing. It just was a media storm over nothing. He'd been in Hong Kong, so nowhere near there. And that must have been like early February. And we said, right, that's it now. We're not going to get much more of this COVID malarkey. Then obviously, yeah, fast forward a month till March, and like, who knew how wrong we'd be? And 18 months later, still having to talk about it and deal with it. And as you've said, our industry has just been absolutely decimated by what's happened because of the pandemic.
It has. I mean, yeah, I think talking to quite a few people as well. And obviously in your sector, you have plans in place, I imagine, for crisis communications and things like COVID and that I'm sure was in your planning. I know I spoke to quite a few friends of mine who are in the GPs, and they said they had crisis comms things in place for diseases like this, but actually took them by surprise. I'm sure it did you, but did you find you had to be quite fluid in how you reacted to the media, or did some of your plans that you put in place kind of come to fruition?
Yeah, we've got a really robust crisis comms plan. It's a great big thick Bible that kind of deals with all sorts of eventualities, whether it's bomb threats, terrorism, delays, weather issues, kind of you name it, we've planned for it. And a few years ago, actually, we had like the Ebola outbreak, again, where we had potential suspected cases coming into the UK. So again, we'd had touched upon kind of like diseases and things, but never obviously on this size, this scale, but also kind of the length of the crisis. Usually we have a crisis, it could be over in a couple of hours, it could be 24 hours, but it's never been one that's 18 months kind of like in the making. So usually I love a crisis because they're short, they're sharp, and you really have to focus, but it's been, yeah, a real challenge with this one. But I think, yeah, we've got through it and we're starting to kind of see the other side now, especially from the recovery side.
Yeah, hopefully. It feels like it, doesn't it? But yeah, still never know. You have to kind of keep away from the news sometimes, don't you? Obviously, that's really important in your world as well. Yeah, I mean, how do you stay calm and focused, obviously, from a comms perspective as well? If you've worked on crisis before, you've kind of got that kind of a little bit inbred, and you said you enjoy dealing with it. But I suppose in this particular scenario, how did you and your team stay calm and focused when everything was changing so rapidly day in, day out?
Yeah, like I said, yeah, I actually do some of my best work in a crisis. I really just kind of like focus you, it gets the adrenaline going. The eyes of the business are on you, the media on you, so you've got to do a good job. But like I said, usually it's very kind of curtailed over a short period of time. So it's ensuring that I've got that resilience, the team's got that resilience to cope with something for this long.
Oh, you sound
As well. So
you just come back then. You went off a little bit, but you came back. So we got that, I think.
Do you want me to say that again?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind. Sorry, just it kind of went off a little bit. Yeah. just about staying calm and focused, really. I know you said in crisis, you kind of enjoy those challenges.
Yeah. So I do some of my best work in a crisis. It really does kind of focus you, get the adrenaline going, but usually you can only sustain that adrenaline for a short period of time. Most crises are a lot shorter than what we've had to deal with. So it's making sure I've got the resilience, the team's got it, but also kind of like bouncing off other colleagues. And that's the great thing about having two other airports, other comms teams. We've been able to work together as one and kind of pick up the kind of the slack and actually do different things in a crisis that we wouldn't normally do, because we have got the extra colleagues out there to help, and having Teams and Zoom, etc., makes all that happen really easily.
Yeah, it's massive learning, I imagine, as well. And how do you, I suppose, just a bit of an extra question, but how do you look after, we've talked very much recently about mental health. It was Mental Health Day on Sunday, but I think it's really important to look after your mental health every day, particularly in PR and comms. It's quite a fast-paced, stressful industry. How do you look after your own mental health to take some time out when you're dealing with, I can imagine your phone was ringing from morning to night, really, at this period?
It's just always making sure, I think, you just take a bit of time every day, whether it's 5 minutes, half an hour, just to kind of sit back from it all, turn the emails off, don't watch the news, because a lot of what you see on there, it's obviously, it's hyped up a lot and it kind of impact you. Go for a walk. That's kind of like the great thing about certain parts of lockdown. We actually got out into the countryside a lot more, being able to go for walks, get fresh air. So it's just, even if it's 5-10 minutes, just step away from things. And yeah, breathe as well helps. And it's the same with the team. I always say to the teams, make sure you take time for yourselves. But we've got really good wellbeing programs in place at the airport, a really strong HR team that make sure we're all coping the best we can.
Yeah, it is really important. I think people just sometimes think, I've got so much to do and I need to finish this. And actually sometimes just walking away, switching yourself off from everything and coming back to it is really important. Obviously, travel is back on the agenda again. I travelled a few months ago and I was quite apprehensive about it, but really excited to get away. And I kept seeing friends flying away, and I thought, I've got to go. I need to escape. I've had enough of UK breaks, as much as they're lovely. How do you, in your role in PR, marketing, communications, build consumer confidence again? There's many people who are still quite apprehensive. Things are still changing. Some people might not be very tech savvy on going on to doing all the tests and logging online. So how do you build that consumer confidence through your role?
Yeah, once we'd got kind of our head around the severity of the pandemic, how long it was going to be going on for, and the impact of the industry, that was our next prime objective. We need to make sure customer confidence is right back at the top when it needs to be. So used to base tactical PR a lot of the times as well. So getting our industry people out there, spokespeople talking about how safe it is to travel. And actually, we were one of the first airports to put loads of safety measures in place, whether it was mandatory mask wearing, enhanced cleaning, bookable security slots, and a lot of those things have continued to today as well. But actually, we took it a step further as well. We kind of worked with our digital colleagues, our customer comms colleagues, our marketing colleagues to create bespoke packages of content that could sit online, it could go onto social, it could be sent out to emails to people who've booked car parking lounges, just to make sure we got the messages out there in the most kind of engaging and informative way through all the channels we've got at our disposal. And again, that helped how we had these ways of hybrid working. We could all jump on calls together from across, we're all kind of based across the whole of the UK.
That's good. Yeah, I must say myself, I find it very safe when I travelled, and I was very excited to be back at the airport again, and love the new terminal as well. Yeah, I did feel, I logged on and I felt there was a lot of content from yourselves and obviously the airline that I was flying with as well, that kind of made me feel really secure and kept saying, do this, do that, check in with it all. So yeah, you're doing a great job of that. Yeah. What have you learned? Sorry.
I think once you've done it once as well, you get the knack of what you've got to do with tests and things. And we've lobbied throughout to make the restrictions as easy as possible, because inherently people want to travel, they want to go away. You said yourself, I'm the same. So actually, if you make it easy, people will do it. And that's been a whole key thing we've done as government lobbying throughout as well, to make things clear and simple for people.
I think that's communications. We know that, isn't it? Just making things simple and understanding. I think what do I have to do? Is really important. What have you learned both professionally and personally during this very strange period, last 18 months or more, I think it is now, that you can take away from everything?
Yeah, it's a bit of a cliche, but I think that don't sweat the small stuff. There's only so much you can do in a day, and you know what? Focus on what matters. Focus on what's going to make a real difference at the time in hand. And put down other stuff that's not going to do that, or is going to distract you from that as well. I've learned that I'm more resilient than I thought I was. I always thought I was resilient. I'm much more resilient than I was. Same with the team. And a lot of that is the same in the personal world as well. Focus on what matters, whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's your mental health, exercise, and just, do what makes you feel well during a time like this, and kind of just forget like the wider pressures in the world, and do switch the news off, and your health matters more.
You know what? I mean, I work in the comms world, and you do watch the news, and then I think, oh, or read something on Twitter, and I'm thinking, I'm getting consumed by it. It's like, you know, I'm in this world, and I'm sort of panicking. Oh, I shouldn't do that, or this is happening. And but I think that advice of don't sweat the small stuff is really important. I think that's something I've really learned during the pandemic, that things happen, and sometimes you're like, I can't do anything about it. It'll get back to normal at some point. There's no point stressing in my head over that. Obviously, it's a slightly different question, but it's very, very topical. We're always talking about climate change. You know, it's been big on the agenda at the moment. I know Boris Johnson's been talking about it, and all the world leaders. I mean, travel is obviously notoriously having a big impact on climate change. What do you, where is the future for you with travel, and what you're doing about sort of more sustainable, protecting the environment? What's the airport group doing in that sort of global issue?
Yeah, well, the whole industry's had a real focus kind of on CSR and the carbon agenda for many years before the pandemic. I think as we edge out of the pandemic and get back to normality, sustainability is going to be key. As an airport group, we were the first UK airport group to be carbon neutral from our own operations. That was back in 2016. And Manchester's actually got the highest level of that in the country. We've actually got some carbon announcements coming out in the next couple of weeks. So watch this space, ways people can offset their own carbon as well, and kind of some stuff like sustainability and fuels. But I think, as you said, the world's eyes are on that. And actually, people will want to travel, but people want to do it in a sustainable way. And our eyes have always been on that and always will be.
That sounds good. Yeah, I look forward to that. And what does travel look like? What's the new normal? What's the future for travel?
I think inherently we're very sociable people as human beings. They want to see people, we want to mix with people, so people will want to travel again. And we've seen the pent-up demand there. Whenever the traffic light system was made simple, whenever the double jab for vaccinated people came in, you wouldn't have to quarantine. We saw the surge in bookings off the back of those. So people are itching to get away. And like I said, if you make it easy for them, they will do that. And just this week alone, where the red list has changed and the traffic light system's gone, the demand in bookings now looking into October half term, it's like not where it needs to be, but it's getting in the right direction. So the demand is there. People want to do it. We just need the restrictions to be free to be able to do it.
And do you think more people are looking at more international travel? I know that obviously some of the airways that kind of only just opened, like with Thailand and America was over the summer, wasn't it? But at first there was a restriction around where we could go. But do you think people will start to look at more faraway destinations again?
Yeah, I think so. I think as other countries unlock and their restrictions ease, and we can more simply go to those, so like the US, for example, is meant to unlock next month for Brits. So I'm sure people will want to. We're seeing it with the airlines. The airlines are committed to the airport. They want to come back. Obviously, it needs to be when our government allows it, their government allows it. And I think, yeah, people are going to want to get some sun after all this time kind of cooped up over here in the UK. But it might see different trends. You might see people actually having a winter holiday instead of a summer holiday, because summer's gone now and obviously restrictions are easing for the winter. So you might see some trends in the industry that change.
Yeah, definitely. I know I'm looking to next year. I've had like one this year, not before that, none for a few years. So I'm like, how many little weekends away and things can I do next year to get traveling again, which is quite exciting. And I suppose what's the future like? Sorry.
I'm the same. I'm such a travel addict. I used to have like 5-6 holidays a year. So having so many cancelled over the last 18 months has been hell, but I've managed to get a couple in the bag so far. So I can't complain too much.
I know, me too. Do you know what? I had some lovely UK breaks as they talk about, but I just thought in August when I went away, I hadn't got anything planned. The weather wasn't looking very good in the UK. I need to get abroad. And honestly, I felt like crying when I got off a plane and you felt that heat. I was just like, oh, I feel like I'm on holiday. It just feels different, doesn't it? There's just something about traveling and getting on that plane.
It's going back to that mental health piece as well. You talked about mental health in the workplace, but actually travel is great for mental health, as like you've said. So actually, again, people will want to travel because of that too.
It is. And so what's the plans for the future for you and your team? Manchester Airport Group, obviously a massive, huge employer in the Northwest and Manchester and in the area. Obviously you've got your new terminal. But what are your plans in terms of the airport and obviously from a comms perspective as well going forward?
Yeah, so you touched upon the new terminal that opened in July this year. It was ready to go last year, but obviously with the pandemic, we couldn't open it with no passengers and we couldn't test it, so we couldn't put thousands of people through the terminal to test it with social distancing. So it's great to have that open. Now that's open, we're going to see more airlines coming across to there, more new routes launching as well. So as we edge into the recovery phase now, which we are doing, we're seeing the numbers going in the right direction. So at the start of the pandemic, we were on about 5% of usual passenger volumes. Now we've crept up to about 25-30%, so still kind of very small numbers, but is going in the right direction. So as that ramps up, our comms recovery will also ramp up as well. More government lobbying to kind of make testing be a thing of the past. Hopefully, obviously maintaining public health at the same time. As we do that, hopefully ramp the team back up to kind of full numbers as well, and yeah, get to do more of the fun, proactive consumer type things as well, to kind of less doom and gloom on COVID would be nice.
Yeah, I think we need a bit more of that, don't we, really? Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you. Thanks a lot for your time, Seb. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing what you're getting on with in the future. I know I was talking to our chairman the other day and somebody else, and they were saying they'd love us to hold an event at the airport. So maybe when the time's right, we can do a PR. We do a lot of things with meet the media, journalist type things as well. So maybe we can do a travel special at the airport if that would be suitable at some point. That would be great. We have quite a few sponsors.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
So I'll let you know. Maybe sometime next year. That would be a really good one to do. But that's great.
Sounds good.
Well, enjoy your rest of your day. Hope you're not too busy. You can get a walk in.
Thank you.
Keep in touch. Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye.